Game number 1 in this best of 7, round 32. GiBthedurrty versus Lucas_L99. Pretty cool. Kamchatka. We do have Gib spawning once the game loads. As Japan in the color green, in the northwest of the map, and in the southeast is Lucas playing Aztec in the color yellow. Interesting matchup. What do you think of this, Duck? You play a lot of Japan.
Yeah, it can be a pretty interesting matchup because it can go maybe a few different ways. I think that the typical way that you'd expect this matchup to go is that Aztec goes for an aggressive strategy, whereas Japan is just trying to hold on for as long as they can. And this can be very favorable for Aztec because they have a lot of opportunities to get a lot of XP with that fire pit upgrade, and then siege down all the shrines, and then kind of steamroll the game from there. In fact, Japan has defensive opportunities. They have all of the Aztec units can die in one hit to an upgraded Japanese town center if the Japanese choose to send one of their cards. So it's very hard for Aztec to actually break the Japanese down. They have to kind of play the game out a little bit more slowly than that if Japan chooses to send a card like that. On the other hand, Aztec could play the game more defensively, go for like a fast fortress, even a fast industrial, and then that can actually change how the game plays out as well, and it can turn into a longer game.
Yeah, it can. Both players have sort of H4 possibilities in 1v1, but we might favor Japan there. Of course, Japan's kind of notorious for having a weak early game because their villagers do carry on berries, which are slower gathering than hunts, because the Japanese in Age of Empires 3 are a vegetarian civilization. And of course, Aztec has a very, very strong unit shipment heavy rush that they often like to perform. So I would say Aztec is borderline counter-civ to Japan, but GiBthedurrty, Japan is his main civilization. So we'll see how he tries to deal with what I would expect to be pressure. Trying to look at his deck. Gib hasn't selected his deck yet, but very standard deck coming out of Lucas here.
Yeah.
Does have the Smoking Mirror card in Age 3. Oh, would you look at that? Lord Raphael just subscribed to ESOC. Thanks, bud.
Thanks very much for the subscription. So I think now that we look at Lucas's deck, we do see that it doesn't seem... Well, I suppose a fast industrial could still be an option for him, but it seems like it is more geared towards an H2-centric play. And I think that the usual F5 suited Aztec deck would have, I think, one more H4 card in it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it seems likely that Lucas will go for H2 play. And as you were saying, yeah, it's very good against Japan. It can be very difficult for Japan to hold off some of that early aggression. You can see GiBthedurrty has chosen a deck with this Irregulars card in H1, which means that he has some defensive opportunities available for him.
Yeah.
But even when you send that card, it's so easy to just bleed out over the course of the game. They can siege down all of your shrines, get so much XP off of it, and you can have such a hard time putting together the units you need to make it break out.
Yeah, and we'll see how he chooses to do this. I know Gib sometimes likes to build some walls, and I'm not sure why I'm getting double notification sounds on that, but GoodSpeed has also subscribed. So thanks for the subscription, GoodSpeed. Looking forward to your betting event as always, even though I'm not participating because I don't like losing stuff. Anyways, so I want to focus on treasures in H1 because it is Kamchatka. We do have these nice big wood treasures, and currently Gib is going for 85 wood in the map. Meanwhile, Lucas discovered 50 wood, and that seems to be his only treasure in H1. So I think Gib's kind of coming ahead with the H1 performance here, which might be a little surprising considering I think maybe the Aztec Explorer is a little stronger. But just a manner of scouting patterns, I suppose.
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes this be a little bit easier for Japan in terms of H1 treasure gathering is I don't think that there's any great guardians that the Aztec can get. By great here, I mean not necessarily strong, but fast moving. True. So I believe that Lucas took over a tiger. So you get, 1.5 scouts really. The tiger doesn't have a great line of sight. It's hard to find treasures with it. Whereas Japan, they get 2 scouts off the explorers, and then of course they can also use that second cherry orchard to do a bit of scouting as well. So I could see GiBthedurrty picking up a couple more treasures in this. Lucas did see this 150 coin treasure on the left side of the map.
Yes.
Really good treasure.
That is a good
he chose not to go for it yet, but it is an interesting pickup that will be available to him in the mid game.
Yeah, that's kind of nice because as Aztec, your Puma Spearmen do cost coin, which I think you do want to be training this matchup just to siege shrines and keep the shrine count manageable. They've just insane siege, but also 150 coin is the exact amount of coin that the wood chopping upgrade at the Aztec market, I believe, costs, if I'm not mistaken. But all right, we do see Lucas aged up with the fast-aged politician. He's going to be putting down his war hut with one villager in the middle of the map. So this indicates that it's not going to be a super all-in, fast, aggressive rush. Maybe just something more along the contained style. Meanwhile, a full wall coming in for Gibthedurrty. Kind of looking like Kinesi play. And meanwhile, his shrine count is at 60. So what do you make of this? Who do you think is in a good spot? I guess it's a little early to tell.
Well, we do see that GiBthedurrty has put most of his shrines inside of his base right now. He's kind of shrined, or he's walled, that is to say, around his shrines. Hasn't put any shrines up, I believe, outside the base. And that means, not even that, like the far hunts, that might be difficult for Lucas to come down on. That indicates that GiBthedurrty is going to be in a pretty safe spot with the shrines he has. But every additional shrine he makes is going to be effectively one that doesn't really gather any. Or it'll gather a very small amount because it's not going to have hunts available to it.
Right.
So I could see GiBthedurrty trying to transition off of the shrines, which is, it's interesting because he shipped that Heavenly Kami card first, which does say, he wants to do a shrine boom, he wants to make a lot of these shrines, but he's not really going to have any great shrine opportunities left. I'm kind of surprised he didn't choose a 2 villager shipment even.
Yeah, so he's really opting for sort of the standard greedy Japan playstyle, where you do send that Heavenly Kami card, sending 600 wood first. And meanwhile, Lucas has laid down 2 trading posts, which indicates to me he might be going for some stagecoach possibilities. And GiBthedurrty, I think this is a smart move, laying down a trading post of his own. And more walls. So the first layer of walls has been breached by this Mace Sultan and Puma army. However, the second layer is going to go up, but at the cost of 1 villager. So potentially 2. Just
very close on
sneaks it
that
out.
one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
really love how GiBthedurrty actually situated all of his walls. It seemed like they were pretty far out of his base, but it means that he's able to make these inner walls very easily. He lost a couple of villagers off of it, but still, the means that it's going to be extremely difficult for Luke to actually break into the base and do any real damage. Now that GiBthedurty has a few Yumis out, he's probably going to be able to avoid losing any from here. And losing villagers, of course, is not great. He probably could have saved them if you were a little careful with them. But when you're Japan against Aztec, you're not worried too much if a couple of villagers.
Yeah, that's true. Not ideal, but that is how it's gone. And something I want to point out, as Lucas just gets 240 XP from killing that trading post, is that he did research the XP upgrade at the fire pit, which doubles the amount of experience that he gains from this war chief aura. So everything that he sieges down is just going to fuel Aztec shipment spam. And we see there are a lot of scary cards yet to come. He shipped 10 mace, 9 mace, 600 wood, 700 wood. He still has 6 Pumas, 3 warrior chiefs, 600 coin. All those great cards that Aztec feels comfortable sending. And meanwhile, there's just too many units here for Gib to contest. If we do look at the range, Yumis have 18 range, Mace Sultans have 16, so they should be able to outrange them, losing a couple units earlier. And the siege potential from the Pumas is just too much. He's just sieging everything, and there aren't enough units from Gib here to contest this.
The 18 to 16 range sort of means that Yumis will be able to shoot at Mace Sultans and Pumas, but they're never going to be able to get into a really great position to do full volleys. Like if you have like 30 Yumis, you're not going to be able to safely fire all 30 Yumis at the Mace. You're only going to be able to get a few at a time, especially with all the walls that you're making in your base, with all the buildings that you have.
Yeah.
So you're able to fire, you're able to take pot shots at the Mace, but if the Aztec wants to take on a building in your base, they're often going to be able to do so. And that's exactly what we saw. Lucas was able to take down the Shogu Shrine.
Yeah, and that's
a few.
I mean, that's a big pickup. That Teshuga boosted the gather rate of all the shrines. So it's probably equivalent of killing probably a couple bills at this point. Gib only has 70 shrine pop, but it's definitely going to affect his late game eco too. And he got 720 experience from killing that shrine. So
Wow.
yeah, I believe he's just up ahead 2 shipments if we put shipments sent on the big tab. He's up 3 shipments, excuse me, and enlisted regulars coming in for GiBthedurrty. So I don't know how effective that's going to be. This wall is already going down, so we'll have to see.
It's also a great wall to take down for Lucas. You can see he can actually have an inner wall to protect his villagers there. So now Lucas does have a route into. He's got a nice position with these Yumis and the regulars over here right now, and the sentries coming out. So I think he's going to come out ahead in this fight, especially with the town center taking down extra shots. Lucas does want to, yeah, he is going to pull back now. You can see he's that the town center is firing the extra damage. He's out of coyote runners now. He has to pull back a little bit, but still it's open now for Gib. He has to re-wall, which is going to cost a lot of wood. It's not an insubstantial amount of wood at this point either.
No, and the villager seconds that it takes as well. Meanwhile, Lucas is sort of setting up economically behind this. He's researched stagecoach. He sent 3 warrior priests and is, I believe, dancing for more warrior priests. I don't see the icon there. And he's actually had an economy and military at this point. So this pressure is just, Gib can't ever really catch back. He's just struggling to maintain. And he's spending a lot of resources to do just that. So this is looking pretty well for Lucas, and the Portuguese consulate at Pose are getting out of position by these coyotes. So
a little bit of a misrally there, coming out on the wrong side. Would be nice if they had come in between the 2 walls of the consulate.
Yeah, definitely. And
more regulars coming.
Yeah, the larger shipment from the enlisted regular shipment, and putting them into melee to try to snare and get these coyotes down, but. It's just enough to hold, right? But what cost? He's lost a villager, another shrine, and he's still... Oh, these pumas are... don't know what to do. They can't make up their minds. Just going to try to siege this wall down to get out. And, oh, more coyotes to push back this Yumi. So, yeah, Lucas is sitting in a nice position. Coyote combat coming in for this fight, and these are going to be a lot tougher to kill now.
He's still able to get 1 coyote down with every shot of his town center, and
oh wow,
be able to save the majority of these Yumis. But even so, yeah, there's all these pumas that taking down shrines. There's still a good Mace Walton batch over here. Yeah, town center not actually firing at the coyotes right now. I think because of coyote combat coming out, it's not actually a 1-shot kill anymore.
Yeah, and I think you want to focus
Sentry...
on the Mace Sultans for the Halb sentries to come out and give Wallon in the escape route. So he's going to clean this up, but again, I mean, he's down 33-1 military and also behind economically. So this isn't the sort of typical Japan game where you're sitting at 190 shrine pop while you just have units in your base. He's sitting at 40 shrine pop, and I don't know how to make progress from here.
Look at the shipments again. I think what we see now is Lucas has sent 5 shipments on top of Gib. Gib has 1 more shipment in queue. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was just really well played by Lucas. I think that's probably how you want to play this matchup. That XP upgrade from the fire pit. We can see its effect. He's up 5, probably 4 shipments because I think 1 is on the way for Gib. But still, I mean that's just 2,800 extra resources that you have out on the map that your opponent doesn't. It's kind of insane.
That 1 fire pit upgrade is it's kind of not even a well-known upgrade. Like, of course, at the top level, everybody knows about it, but a lot of players don't even know that it exists. It's kind of like this random upgrade off the fire pit that you never would even see. But it has a huge effect in this matchup because I think it's even triple the XP that you get off of kills when your war chief is around, and as a result, we saw here it leads to a huge shipment advantage. I think that Lucas also might have had his trading posts moved over onto XP. I'm not 100% sure about that one. He was getting XP off the trading post for a while there. Okay. The result of that, though, is a huge amount of shipments that you get an advantage over your opponent.
Yeah,
able
definitely.
to just run your opponent out of game from there.
And yeah, I think you are correct that it triples the amount of XP. And like you said, it's not a super popular upgrade because I'm not even sure how much it costs.
That's the thing. It's actually really cheap. It's 50, 50, 50, 50, I believe.
Really?
50, yeah, of every resource.
That's
So
incredible. I feel like that should just always, anytime you're being aggressive. That would also be quite good versus British sieging down manor houses. I mean, that'd be a lot of XP. So that
one of
was
the best
game.
upgrades in the game. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I might start playing a little bit more Aztec. All right, so that was game number 1. Lucas is taking a 1-0 lead. I'll update the score when we're in game next time. But this is map number 2. We have Baja, California, and Lucas chooses his civilization first. So it's going to allow Gib to counterpick, and it looks like he's locked in with Germany, greening up. And we'll see if Gib decides to stick with his main, Japan.
I mean, what are the picking rules here? You can't pick Japan, right?
I believe... maybe I'm getting this confused with SmackDown rules, where you can play a civ until you win with it. Gosh.
I'm looking. Okay, so they're actually in the lower bracket. It's in bracket round of 32.
No, this is main bracket. But
really, what's the Wait?
No, I'll look up.
I might have missed their thread on that. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, this. Oh, it's the round of
32.
32. Okay. Round of 32.
All right. Civ restrictions. Once you've won
There
with
it
the
is.
civilization, you may not use it again. Losing a game does not disable a player's civilization. So Gib can still play Japan here if he wants.
Okay.
And I think Japan. Well, I was just gonna say I think Japan does pretty decent on this matchup on this map, but Gib's electing for the mirror, and Lucas
hates mirrors.
Well, I don't know. Is that some sort of mind game? A little bit of a fake there. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we'll see how this mirror goes. The German mirror is. Well, sometimes you see lots of Doppelsonders, sometimes you just see like 7 calves. So we'll see how this one plays out.
The German mirror, I'm always interested in it. It's Doppelsoldiers are an interesting unit against Ulans because one of them, as I've said several times, one Doppelsolder beats infinity Ulans. It doesn't matter how many Ulans are in the battle. You can never engage Ulans onto Doppelsolders. So you can see the battles turn into a lot of Doppelsolder wars, or really Doppel versus Doppel, but then the Ulans aren't really there to. Well, they're trying to just get map control, do a lot of map presence and raiding.
Right.
It can also turn into not that, where both players play very Ulan heavy, maybe switch into Doppelsolders if they can, but are really looking to go into Age 3 whenever possible, and then get skirmishers.
Right, and I mean, a few things to note. So Doppelsonders were buffed on the most recent EP patch. Meanwhile, Ulans have sort of had their 5 HP nerf for a while here. So Doppelsonders are even stronger in the mirror matchup. However, this map is pretty large as far as 1v1 EP maps go. Rush distance is large, and you have to wonder if maybe the mobility of Ulans will be more appealing to the players. However, just looking at treasures, looks like Gib is picking up 80 wood here, and I don't know if 80 wood was scouted by Lucas, guarded by these 3 cougars.
Lucas did find a 60 wood treasure.
And so he's just going to go for an early
pretty
trading post. That's quite nice. Meanwhile, it looks like Gib has the same idea, except for he's going to find it built. And he's just out of position. Yeah. Oh, that's rough. Meaning he's probably going to miss a passive experience that Lucas is going to gain. So I don't know.
That seems likely. He's probably going to go for this middle trading post here. This map is interesting in that, yeah, all the trading posts are kind of they're not really closer to any one player or not, which means if both of you happen to go for the same one, whoever gets there sooner, which is pretty much just a 50-50, will end up getting the trading post and getting the pass.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. Not going to decide the game most likely, but
Yeah,
We'll see.
and looking at it now, Gib is going to get that pass. I didn't realize how long and winding that this trade route actually is, but it takes quite a while for it to go. So Gib is going to get his XP a little bit later than Lucas, but it's not going to affect when he gets his 2 villagers, so it's not a huge deal. Meanwhile, Lucas is picking up 80 wood in the middle of the map. That's going to help speed up his market transition. And pretty good age 1 here for both players. I think anytime you can start though with an age 1 TP as Germany, you're quite pleased. It's 60 wood coming out for Gib, so lots of wood treasures here.
Surprising number, actually. I didn't realize this map had so many. Both
Yeah.
players getting a 60 and 80 apiece.
See you later. I'm taking some chili.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's no problem.
Yeah, so I didn't realize there were that many wood treasures either. But most of the good treasures are kind of picked up. 2 settler wagons coming in for each player. Lucas did get his about 10 seconds earlier, which is well, it's a small advantage, but nothing game deciding by any measure. So yeah,
Or minor treasures on the map. It seems like a bunch of muskrats, which are worth a piece. There is a native scout.
That's
down
huge.
and yeah, that one. I think it's the only really significant treasure remaining, but it can be pretty good. A lot of players will often just forget that it is a thing that you have to account for, and you can hide it and see pretty much their entire army movement with it in stealth mode.
Yeah,
it looks like GiBthedurrty has this in mind.
It's hard to say if it's an underrated treasure because that just depends on players' opinions about it, but it's quite good. And I was watching SirCallen stream some 1v1 matches a few days ago, and he was talking about the Nat treasure, and it's just very strong if you can manage to keep it alive. The amount of information it gives you can certainly help swing the tide of games, and you're just that much more certain about what's coming, about what you can afford to do, how to prepare, when units are coming. However, it does get spotted by, the enemy explorer, and if Gib's not careful, if this explorer gets in melee combat with the native scout, it actually kills it because the native scout doesn't snare anymore on EP, and so if you get it in melee combat with an explorer, it will die. But manages to get it away and has it in stealth mode right now.
So we do see the first divergence in the players' builds. We saw that Lucas decided to go for that market, and GiBthedurrty, meanwhile, went for that second trading post. So GiBthedurty seems to be playing a trading post game. He might try to take that third one from Lucas as well. Lucas is now playing, I would say, a little bit more of the traditional Germany, where you go for that market and transition instead of that second trading post. We'll see if Lucas does try to take the trade route as a whole and tries to stagecoach it up and play like that, or if he's going to go for a market of his own. Actually, we do see the market coming down from him as well. Looking at text completed, Lucas is a bit ahead on that front. GiBthedurty has hunting dogs, whereas Lucas has the Jigsaw and the Placer Mines upgrades, the wood and gold upgrades.
Yeah, so I will say I like this decision to add in the second trading post. I think it just sort of is one way to get yourself a little bit of an advantage in this mirror. And I don't believe it will affect, for instance, military mass in H2. I think you can delay your units, and if Lucas decided to send 5 Ulans over here, you would just have a delayed 5 Ulans, but you would have enough, you'd be able to get enough units out to defend yourself just fine. However, we do see another divergence in the builds, in that Lucas has laid down a barracks at start, and GiBthedurty has opted for the stable. So we are going to be seeing different units coming out. I mean, units in queue, I'd expect to see, 3 Doppelsonders out of Lucas, and that just might go to right-click trading post, and there's not much Gib can really do about it.
Yeah, that's the fear, I guess, that happens when you do a stable start in this matchup against a barrack start, is that having the opponent right-click your 10 center, you can't really do anything about it, or B, just your opponent right-clicking all of your infrastructure that's not very well protected.
Yeah.
These trading posts are going to go down.
Certainly. And what I was saying earlier about it being sort of a larger map, maybe you don't want to make Doppelsonders, thinking more about it, it is a large map, but it's separated by chokes throughout the middle. And so, when you have these Doppelsonders in the middle of the map, it's really controlling the entire avenue into your opponent's base. GiBthedurrty can go around, and he's going to be doing that right now. However, we'll see how Lucas reacts to this pressure and sees, make sure he saves all of his bills. But I don't know. It's just it's a difference in styles going for these Doppelsonners versus Ulans. And if GiBthedurrty isn't careful, he could just get trapped here. I mean, 3 more Dops popping out at home. And, oh gosh, these red Ulans are toast.
Has to be really careful here.
Yeah, he's going to lose potentially all of them. It looks like he's going to get away with 3, but I mean, these Doppelsonners right here could potentially taken up one of these chokes, but instead he's just going to siege the trading post, and now Gib has decided to invest this extra 200 wood, and I'm not sure it's really paid off with the extra XP.
This is the sort of thing that can happen when you do that stable start. You have the map presence advantage because you have such mobile units that you're able to get raids down, you're able to engagements with cav on cav, but you have a razor-thin margin against Doppelsonners, meaning that if they have any amount of Doppelsonners in the fight, you're in a huge amount of trouble, and you have to be so careful not to get snared. You have to be so careful not to overstay your welcome in your opponent's base. Yeah. Because if a few Doppelsonners pop out, you can lose your entire cav match and then lose the game off that.
Yeah, definitely true, and we're seeing that in action. GiBthedurrty has managed to lose every single Ulan in H2, which is not ideal. However, he does find himself in the 3rd age, but Lucas will be not far behind. And if we look at shipments sent, I mean, Lucas is actually ahead in the XP curve because of this early trading post, sieging down both of Gibbs and then rebuilding them his own. And we might actually we might see some stagecoach here. But one thing I want to point out is GiBthedurrty did not send 700 wood in H2, so we will see if that's what he elects to send as his first card in H3. He has no villagers on wood at the moment, so I would expect to see it because he is quite popped. Meanwhile, Lucas is going to be in H3 and has his infrastructure down, 1 stable, 1 barracks, and will be able to make units from both right away while laying down all 3 trading posts. So I would say that Lucas is sort of in a nice position here. He's also up 2 villagers. GiBthedurrty must have idled there somewhere. Yeah, we saw he lost 9 Ulans in H2. But he's going to have a slight military presence here in H3 while Lucas is aging up. Yeah, it looks like he's going to pick up a villager, so that's going to be pretty nice for him. And, ooh, 5 war wagons coming out. So Stagecoach is in for Lucas. He's got all 3 trading posts, roughly the equivalent of, 10 to 12 villagers, depending on the resource it's on, and that's quite a huge military or economic boost. He just has to survive this this military pressure from Gib. He did ship 1k wood, which he's gathering right now. He's going to lay down some infrastructure with that. But I don't know. I mean, these war wagons aren't super scary right now. Lucas can just ship skirms and make 5 and be totally okay, which is what he's doing. He doesn't really need to send 1k wood because he's got this route stagecoached. And yeah, Gib is going to be losing a war wagon for a house. Not the best of trades here. And he doesn't really have the siege to take down these trading posts either. Lucas is in a pretty commanding spot, and he's got many shipments to send still. Badulan coming down for Gib. So how you doing, Duck? You there? I think Duck maybe had to step out, get some water. Meanwhile, these Doppelsonners.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. I wasn't sure where you'd gone. But all right, cool. So, what was I saying? Lucas has some of these Doppelsonners left over from Age 2, which, well, traditionally you wouldn't see these much in Age 3, but I'm I'm sort of inclined to believe that Doppelsonders are actually can be quite good in H3 still, because if you get in one of those really micro heavy fights and you just manage to slam these down, it gets very tricky to right click them all, the right units with all these units coming in. They can do some massive amount of damage. And I mean, look at all these Ulans from GiBthedurrty. The only thing he has to pick off these Doppelsonders are war wagons, which he doesn't have very many of, and he's losing more by the second. So this is going to be, man, these Dops are just going to be so strong. They aren't veteran, but Gib's just going to take the fight. He's going to try to DPS them down, and if he can get those Doppelsonders down, I don't know. It's tough.
No,
they're doing too much
I don't know
damage.
about that decision to reposition the Ulans. I mean, yeah,
You're just right. One Doppelsonder can take on an infinity amount of Ulans. Everything is falling here. Oh, that's unfortunate. Three war wagons
it seemed like he had a good opportunity there. But yeah, Doppelsoldiers were in the front. I think maybe if he was picking them off with the war wagons, or if he was like very concentrated about DPSing down the Doppelsoldiers even with the Ulans, maybe he would have been able to push through that fight. When he tried to reposition his army because he saw like, okay, yeah, Ulans fighting Doppelsoldiers, that's bad, I need to move my Ulans away. It went terribly for him after that. There's so many Ulans that died before they could even get into a reasonable position, to the point where once they got into a position where they could maybe gun the skirms, there's like 10 of them left. It's not enough. So unfortunately for Gib, that fight was a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, a bit of a disaster, and he currently has no units on the field. He did get some raids in, however he's going to be losing some villagers of his own, and keep in mind, Lucas still has this 3 TP stagecoach, and there's the GG. And I said I would update the score last time, and I didn't, but I've updated it now. Lucas is currently leading 2-0 in this best of 7 series, first one to win 4 games.
You sure it's not a best of 5 series?
Best of 5.
Again.
Both
Thanks.
maps were vetoed. I forgot about that. So
all right.
yeah, best of 5. So Lucas is on match point here, and Gib's finding himself. Well, it's going to be difficult to crawl back for sure.
I think that Gib had a couple of good chances in that fight. His build. No, it wasn't awful. At least it seemed at first when he decided to go for the second trading post and the market. He was only a little bit behind in the market, but had that second trading post. But going into 2 trading posts plus stable against Barracks, we can see that he doesn't really have a way to contest keeping that trading post up. And so you build the trading post, you get maybe 1 or 2 passes, you lose the trading post, it's not worth it anymore. And that's sort of what happened at first. And then seeing a lot of Ulans in raids that he maybe shouldn't have been moving, and then has another opportunity with that last fight, and then it falls apart for him.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I think that he had a few good chances there. I think that there were a few different points where it looked like he was going to put Lucas in a bind.
Yeah. I mean, it's tricky playing the German mirror, like you said. There's that sort of razor thin margin when your opponent is making dops and you elect not to. And I think that maybe we could see that as maybe a strategical mistake on Gib's part. Those Doppelsonders from Lucas just pay dividends, and anytime you play Germany, I mean, not just in the mirror, but anytime, it's especially prudent to keep your Ulans alive in H2, because that's just an additional mass that you can procure in H3, and you get that veterancy upgrade, and suddenly the 9 Ulan shipment becomes even scarier when you still have 12 or 14 Ulans from H2 still alive. It's a tricky civ to play, for sure, and I mean, Dops are, with the Dop buff, it just seems to be the way to go in this matchup.
So, Lucas switching now into China. One of the civs that he's quite a fan of, we'll see what GiBthedurrty elects to come with now. Deccan, I think one of a very small number of maps that is going to be played in this tournament that isn't designed by the ESOC map designers.
Yeah,
I think this one in New England, maybe.
I believe you're correct, and I'm just a huge fan of that. Deccan and New England, I think, are some of the more interesting maps from RE to carry over. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, New England was sort of given some adjustments just to make sure that the spawns are more consistently
Yeah.
played. But I mean, I really like that sort of introducing, interesting elements in the form of maps rather than civilization changes through the patch or something like that. I'm super
Absolutely.
excited. Anytime both these maps are played, honestly. And I know that Mito has been a big proponent for playing Deccan in tournament matches for a while now, so I'm happy to see it in play. I think that there are still a lot of builds that have yet to be really discovered on this map, specifically matchup-specific builds that I think can be quite strong and rewards preparation. So happy to see it.
I couldn't say I'm personally a fan of Deccan, but I see the motivation to include it in the map pool. I think it does change how the game is played substantially, and that games. New England, I think, is one of my favorite of the RE maps, and as long as it gets some balancing, which I believe has happened, because there's so many different interesting things that can happen on that map. There are very small choke points, as well is interesting. Putting the monitors in the middle lakes, I'm not as big a fan of, or even like frigate and stuff. I'm not quite as favorable towards that.
See, yeah,
But I think the map, some nice stuff.
New England is one of my more favorite maps to observe, but as a player, I've been burned too many times by just more versatile players in quick search, people who can adapt more, and I have a pretty. I don't really mess with water all that much unless I can just make docks for free. And so New England, I've been burned too many times, and I don't much enjoy playing it, but that's not a good argument to not have it in a tournament map set, in my opinion. So that is where we see ourselves. Looks like Gib is sort of contemplating which civ he wants to play. He does have every civ still available to him if he so chooses, and yeah, I like how he names his ESO lobbies. He always has Gib and then whatever follows. Last night I was playing some 2v2s and it's like Gib team or like Gib 2v2, and now it's GiBthedurrty. And I am kind of I would be excited to see if Gib pulls off the reverse sweep, but we'll have to see.
So in terms of civs that he could pick, I would actually like to see him pick Japan again. It is sort of the civ that he's known for. He is he the leader now of the Yumi Wall clan, or is he just one of the officers? He is an officer of the Yumi Wall clan.
Yes.
Let me find out. I'm gonna guess on the leader. I'm gonna go King of Osman is currently the leader. Yes. All right.
Yes, it's a strong clan.
Okay, switches over to the British. As far as yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, mine was kind of an off tangent that I played someone in quick search the other day called Yumi Wall, who's in Puro on Fire Clan, and I just got wrecked. So yeah, Gib choosing Brits. What do you think?
Well, as far as civs that are like Japan goes, I think British is probably the closest one to Japan. They do a lot of things that are the same, in principle the same. You make a lot of villagers, whereas Japan makes a lot of shrines, which are basically the same as villagers. And you make the villagers by making things that are like shrines that are called houses. You make a lot of you have the option to make a lot of long-ranged bow type units that are really frustrating to deal with.
You're right. The parallels just go on and on.
Yeah. And you tend to not ship military units whenever you can do it. You just ship your wood and villager shipments.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just make all your houses in a line.
Yeah.
And then you never resign. Yeah, it's great.
Never resign. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of it. Yeah.
The game not starting. I don't know if ESOC ESO is bugging. Someone can't. ESO is having difficulties. If you refresh the game browser, it ain't going. So I'm afraid we'll have to take a few moments before this match can start. Yeah. Another similarity. Maybe we'll see the VC card. That's kind of like Heavenly Kami makes your
Yeah, very similar to Heavenly Comet.
makes
Yeah.
your house units cheaper, and you spam them more.
And I mean, I think so. I think the main difference, I guess, in broad strokes, would be that extremely good late game. They scale so well into the late game with all the different unit upgrades that they get. With daimyos, just regular unit upgrades, cancel out all that stuff. What they trade there is that the British get a stronger early game. The British are kind of known for economy, but also being surprisingly difficult to pressure down.
Yeah.
And as a result, I think it's a really good pick for this matchup, for this map. China is one of those civs that they want to go for fortress usually. They want to get a really big force together and push you in a mid-fortress timing. British are happy with that in the sense that they're able to just boom up a little bit, take the early game pretty slowly, get a nice villager economy set up, and then just try to overwhelm the Chinese with more units, more stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that this is a pretty Brit-favored matchup, especially on this map where there isn't water. Diaruka has sort of been a proponent for the VC-FF build for Brits in this matchup, which on Deccan is very easy to pull off. You get access to that early trading post. Market, I mean, VC is just expedited here on this map. In turn, though, China's FF, if they so choose, can just become scary fast. And I want to see how both these players played out, because there are a couple ways. From the Brits, I said that Virginia Company FF, but you can also, I believe we saw Soldier play this versus Tadir yesterday, stay H2 and just pressure with Musk Huss and then just hurt your opponent's economy and then just snowball that into just way more stuff in H2. So both players, it looks like, are going to be heading off to build a trading post, and Lucas is going to find a couple yaks right away.
Yeah, on this map, because you have all this extra wood, you can often make one or even two trading posts in the beginning of the game. That means that you can, if you'd like to, send several different shipments at once. So I wouldn't be surprised if Gib does go for like a 3-villager VC or go to a round VC to 3-villager in age 1. Lucas, I would expect him to save his shipments up. Has quite as good age 1 shipments as say 3-villagers into VC. We'd maybe just see the Northern Refugees card out of Lucas and then save the shipments for H2, like 700 wood, 600 wood, 700 wood, 700 gold, or 700 gold, 700 wood, anything in that order, and go for a very economic style FF.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I'm not sure what to make out of Lucas's start. So he is going to be laying down a trading post now, but he wanted to get as many of those herdables as possible in the middle of the map, and he's done a pretty decent job. If we look at all units, he's got 4 as opposed to none from Gib. However, Gib is in a position to maybe get these 2, but the Disciples should pick up these other 2 yaks on the other side of the map. And Lucas opting to not collect his coin. He's not going to be going for an early market. Rather, and he's not chomping any more wood either, so he's not trying to build a second village or anything of that nature. This sort of indicates to me he's going to be going for just a very fast FF if he can, choosing not to go for the sort of greedier style that Deccan affords you, and just wants to use it to speed up his build and maybe catch Gib. For surprise, he might be going for a greedier style.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice that he's made. So he, I guess China starts with 500 wood on this map, which means that if you wanted to go for a 3-villager shipment plus a TP, you'd have to chop 100 extra wood, which would slow you down. Looks like Lucas has decided not to do that. GiBthedurrty, he started with that 3-settler shipment. He's going into age 2 now. Lucas is still gathering some food to be able to go up to age 2. So, GiBthedurrty will see Lucas up time. If he sees that it's a little bit earlier than normal, then he might be able to respond to that. But it is, on this map, it's so hard to unless you've really practiced on this map, you're not necessarily going to know all the different timings that different players have gone for. So he might not even be aware that Lucas hasn't gone for that second village.
Yeah. Wow. So I want to talk about the decks here real quick. I'm looking at Lucas's, and this to me looks pretty age 4 centered. we don't often. I mean, China is definitely Civ. They can get up to H4 and feels comfortable in H4, but I don't think we often see this many H4 cards. Infinite 6-meter hammers comes to mind, as well as
Yeah.
Great Migration. You don't often see that in a lot of decks. Meanwhile, there aren't too many H2 cards, right? There's not even 300 export. There's no 600 wood or 600 coin. Yeah, this looks like maybe Lucas is sort of an FI up his sleeve, and we'll see how it goes. Meanwhile, Virginia Company coming in for Gibb. So he is sort of I like this. So this is the Diaruga way to play this matchup. You send VC and you build them in a line because you will be up to H3 slower than China, and so these walls are supposed to afford yourself some time.
Yeah.
Couple different trains of thought there. I think when you send VC, it's often very beneficial to build them while hurting. Like maybe these hunts, because it
Yeah.
drastically reduces villager walk time. As Brits, you eat up a lot of your hunts very quick in your base, and then you have to walk to eat more. If you can build manors on those hunts and have those villagers that spawn build more manors, you're just greatly increasing the efficiency of your economy. But certainly the manor wall is another way to play it. So.
A few interesting things about this manor wall is, I guess, they have 1,800 hit points, which is more than an EP wall. So
True.
they do protect you better than
Yeah.
EP walls do. Additionally, if you siege one of them down, you're not going to be sieging down the adjacent houses, which with EP walls, you can often siege one section of wall and basically siege down like 3. And so this is a little bit harder to actually siege down in a couple of different ways. So I'm glad that GiBthedurrty is starting to wall off like this. Maybe he wants to complete one of the wall over on this choke point, but it looks like he's getting the southern part of his base walled off as well. Very nice for him. And if you were to go up to 20 houses, then he even gets that nice little bonus where if Lucas actually sieges down one of his houses, he can make another house and get another villager. Oftentimes not relevant, but in this matchup, or in this case, when you're going for VC, it might actually be.
Yeah, it would be relevant, I think, and just an insane amount of houses. I mean, this economically is just going to snowball. I expect to see 5 vills coming out for Gib next, and he isn't even really scouting Lucas. He's just sort of doing this blindly, which you can do versus China because just they don't typically go for H2. And also, if you just look at Lucas's deck, I think it's pretty clear what his game plan is. And Lucas is clicking up to H3 with that porcelain tower. He's got 4 villagers on it now. Personally, I like to see 8, just because the opportunity cost of the wonder, once it's up, you actually save resources if you spend that villager seconds to get it up sooner. But 4 is not a big deal either. And GiBthedurrty is going to be just gathering to H now. Still no steel traps for him, which I would like to see. He's got the wooden coin to do so, so perhaps after Place Your Minds finishes, he'll cue that.
It would be nice, actually, if he had a few more hunts available to him. It seems like he's got this gold mine, which he hasn't mined a lot out of right now, which is good. He's got these 2 elephants, which are, I believe, 1,000 food each. But outside of that, he's got these berries, basically. I think that's the last, food. I think that these other animals, whose names I can't exactly pronounce, they don't have a lot of food left in them. And so it's not going to, it would have been nice if he had maybe herded another one of these a little bit closer.
Yeah.
I suppose that the hunts do tend to be pretty far outside of your main field. It can be a bit tricky. But Lucas will have an opportunity, therefore, to pressure GiBthedurrty a little bit on these outside hunts.
Right, he's going to be running out of hunts sooner than otherwise. For instance, if he would have gone for a sort of manor house cluster here, right, and started gathering those earlier. Same on this hunt. But the China player does have units out now that spawn from his summer palace. That spawns free units every so often because. And both players are... Well, GiBthedurrty is just queued up H3 now. He had to wait for a 700 coin. And as a result, it's going to be up a little bit slower. But right now, I'd like to see him just be chopping lots of wood. He's got to get down his infrastructure. He's laying down 2 barracks, which is great. And I'd like to see a stable as well. Meanwhile, what's on Lucas's plan? His yaks are going to be... Oh, sorry. His water buffaloes are not going to be fat for just a little bit yet, but I'm curious if he sends 1,000 coin and just goes straight up to H4. I think he certainly can.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on because
Yeah.
if you look, he's got 1,500 food gathered up. He just shipped 1,000 coin. He's just going straight into H4. Interesting choice. Looks like he has no need to put any real pressure onto GiBthedurrty, and I kind of like the decision because I think he knows that he's not going to be able to put down enough at without GiBthedurrty just out going in. So going into H4, yeah, I think it is notable that he didn't opt for any of the sort of RE-based H4 cards that you'd see. That is to say, on the RE patch, we don't have the old Han reforms, you don't have the old Han army shipments. Instead, he's going for the more EP-focused style, where you have arquebusiers, Chang'e swordsmen, different other kind of shipments.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that's sort of the way to go on EP. I think it's a little bit stronger just to get those guard upgrades on your normal units. And oh, yep, the musketeers are getting in range to pick off these. Oh no! Okay, so two Chokanus fall, and Gib's gonna be able to defend his trading post, which is nice. You think maybe China had some sort of stagecoach intentions in mind when he tried to siege it. But yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a quick H4 from China, and like Brits just isn't gonna be fast enough to punish it, to apply any pressure here. Because Lucas is going to be H4 by the time any of the Brit units reach China's base. So, I mean, it's a bit late to go H4 yourself because I imagine Gib is just going to be scouting the H4 once Lucas is already up. So as Brit, you just have to, I think, secure as much map as you can and just get that insane unit mass and sort of overwhelm China in sort of the first fight that you can in H4. But yeah, I mean, so now units coming in for Gib to just sort of see what the heck is going on, and Lucas is up to H4. And I mean, these arquebusiers are going to be able to push back this entire army. And 2 Falcons coming out for Gib, that's not really what you want to see here because, I mean, China has lots of answers to that. He can ship 2 Flying Crows himself, you know, 8 Meteor Hammers is a very strong shipment. Slowly, this Wonder will spawn a Flying Crow of his own. I believe every few minutes or something like that. So
I think every 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 or 4.
So I mean, I don't know. I think if I'm the British player, I just am going to try to mass a lot. I think instead of 2 Falcons, I would have rather seen. Well, he doesn't have 8 Vills in deck, but I think maybe something like 1K coin, or honestly, I've even sent like 5 Huss and then like just upgrade cards after that in this matchup as Brit. Just because if you can get Musk Combat, or you know, Cav Combat Huss Musk, it's pretty good. But we do see the swords come out. So actually, these 2 Falcons will be quite effective here for Gib. We'll see what he can do. Sort of losing some units for free, slightly, not really, trading them kind of well. It's going to be tough to push in here though with these swords and the chokes, but just going to siege with the 2 Falcons.
GiBthedurrty feeling maybe a little bit of pressure. He feels like he needs to be able to put some damage down onto China before they're able to get all their shipments out. He does have the better economy right now, but it's actually not as much better as I would expect it to be. Only a 10 villager lead so far because of probably this porcelain tower. So he wants to put pressure down just to keep China from getting the unit match that they want. Getting the War Academy is good. I don't think Lucas has another War Academy yet.
Oh, 2 Flying Crows.
Oh.
Whoa! What a pop from the 2 Falcons. Taking out those 2 Crows right away, and that's huge. And there's still a Falconet left alive. These Chang Daos are going to fall quickly to these Musketeers. And wow, this is a great trade for Gib. Definitely the right decision to push in here. Don't listen to me. 2 Falcons is turning out to be a great shipment in hindsight, and he's cleaning up. Meanwhile, he's adding down a Ford Artillery Foundry, so perhaps in anticipation for those 2 Flying Crows, but they're already dealt with. Maybe he'll be adding in Falconets of his own.
A perfect reaction by GiBthedurrty, it seems, to the Flying Crows right as they pop out. Have the Falconets charged up, and seems to have like gotten the cycle of the Falconets to be able to shoot right as they. Maybe not fully intentional there, but before the Flying Crows were even able to set up and get a shot down, one Flying Crow is able to hit the Falconet, but at that point, you still have a Falconet left over.
Right, and
great position.
Yeah, Lucas sort of burned his very powerful 8 Meteor card shipment just getting that Falconet down, and I mean there's primarily Musketeers left for the British Army, so that's a great you know, he's totally happy with that. 4 Hussars coming out for the British player too. Not sure how I feel about that, but it's going to be nice to sort of intercept these 2 Radiant Meteor Hammers if he so chooses. And yeah, I mean, things are looking pretty good for Gib. He's sort of exhausted most of the worst shipments in H4, but I mean, 17 Arquebusiers, that's an insane card, and he's not paying attention. He's losing his units here. Now he's going to pull back, but a few Chang Dao are there to snare. 1 Falconet being trained from the Artillery Foundry, not going to be enough to really push back this pressure, but it will help some. And, oh, yeah, he's going to lose a few units. There's a weird physics on that cannonball.
Lucas had a nice pop there with the Arquebusiers. I think that, you know, GiBthedurrty is not quite in a commanding, like, victorious position yet. He does have a bunch of Hussars coming in now, and so he could still make a push through and break through Lucas's base. There's a good number of Changdao and Musketeers, but there are also a lot of Hussars. If this Falconet's able to get into position, it would be very scary for Lucas right now. Hussars fighting kind of on the, well, not...
Yeah, it's kind
No,
of...
I think that there's not many left, yeah.
And I mean, I think choosing to DPS those units down is a smart move. And the Flying Crow popped, and it's just gonna get picked off right away. And meanwhile, these Hussars are still there to snare. It does one-shot the Falc. That's pretty nice. But I mean, still, Lucas is just fighting with H2 or H3 units, right? He doesn't have those nice guard upgrades, and so the only thing he has got going for him by going to H4 is just getting access to those powerful shipments, which have all been nullified by just the overwhelming presence of units by GiBthedurrty and Lucas's base. And yeah, I mean,
finding another Falconet. He's going to be just putting down some siege pressure onto this Summer Palace one there right now.
yeah.
I think we saw that the Falconet didn't quite do as much as he maybe would have liked to in that fight. It took a while to get over, where the more mobile units, the Hussars, the Musketeers were all trying to get into the snaring position. From Lucas positioning here, he's going to take down a few of the Hussars. He's going to lose. Well, he's going to let us save a couple of the Meteor Hammers. I think he might even be able to hit.
He will. Meteor Hammers are just insane units for anyone who don't know. I mean, it's Cav with these whips, which honestly gives them like a couple range. So as a result, you can see they're. I mean, it's really good. You give Cav a couple range and it's good. I don't know how else to explain it. And as well, just great bonuses versus artillery as well. So I mean, GiBthedurrty, while in a good spot, like has to be kind of careful not to overstay his welcome or get split up too much. That said, Lucas just has no res. He's got 25 idle bills and 1,000 wood. I mean, this tower I think has been on wood for maybe a little too long, and he's gonna lose a tower that's equivalent to 8 bills. And Gib is in a mighty fine spot, dare I say. Another batch of, again, H3 cab popping strong, but just H3, and Brits are in a good spot.
So like, yeah, with the tower going down, with Gib still streaming units into Lucas's base, a few more units coming out for Lucas right now. He timed Summer Palace with one of his war academies, but it's a few H3 units.
Yeah.
Lucas calls GG.
Yeah, GG. So Gib taking a game, brings it up to 2-1, not letting Lucas get away with a 3-0. And hey, might see a reverse sweep. It's kind of funny. So Gib made 4 Falconets from this artillery foundry, but they were just one at a time. Every 2 minutes, one Falconet would appear and just start, putting P shots against this Summer Palace. It's kind of funny, but. I think that's how you're supposed to play the matchup. VCFF is quite strong versus China, as we see.
I do see both players went offline. Are we supposed to be relogging or something? I'll log out. Okay. I see Lucas came back online, but
I think I'm going to restart my game just so I don't have a sound bug issue.
Okay,
I think that's more pertinent as a player. But yeah. It's not a tournament mandate as far as I'm aware. GiBthedurrty. All right.
So, as I understand it, with the pick rules now, GiBthedurrty is the first pick.
That's correct.
Okay. Oh, and here he's looking for the map. The map is New England.
New
Right.
England. Yep.
Yeah, I guess we were just talking about this before the last game started, about how much we like this map.
Yes.
With some caveats, we staying for certain elements of the map, but overall it's a very nice map. One of the better maps to make it from RE to this sort of tournament on EP.
Yep. Very true.
And it is a map that has a lot of water. To the point where it can be dangerous to ignore it. You know, there's some maps where if you don't go water, like I would say Florida has this property where if you don't go water and your opponent does, it's not completely awful. You can still make something happen. But on this map, I feel like if you don't go water and your opponent does, they can take 40 minutes to win, but still end up winning the game.
Yeah, for sure. And there are several elements about this map that makes that the case. One, there's just a lot of resources in the water. I'm looking at the mini-map. It's going to be kind of maybe hard to see on the stream, but we'll see once we get in game. There are a lot of resources in the sea. You can see these ponds allow for easy walling from aggressive behavior. There's also the presence of natural walls on New England, so to speak. And this 4 TP stagecoach, you might think, well, if you're not going sea, you can just grab the stagecoach and keep up an economy that way. But in fact, if you ship 2 caravels to the ponds, that's typically going to be in range of about 2 trading posts. And so, you know, that's not even guaranteed to be safe. So you really do, I feel like you have to play sea on this map, like you said. And GiBthedurrty, from what I can tell, at least playing some team games with him, he's not uncomfortable going water. So
He switched over to Portuguese, which is a good indicator of the water play. Lucas, meanwhile, decided that he, maybe he thought that the last game was not a presentation of his China skills, and he's saying, no, I'm going to continue with China here, and win.
Yeah, and I mean that can be another good civ. I mean, both these civs are comfortable in H4. China for the same reasons we talked about last game. Portuguese just historically well scaling civ who has excellent opportunities on the water. They gain that free town center wagon with each age up that can get them a lot of control on the sea and on land. And then I mean just the booming potential from 3 or 4 TCs is insane. And then excellent H4 with the high range goons, which are a great unit to make. But you know, China I think is a lot to say, and China has you know, possibilities on water as well. They have those fire junks, which are surprisingly decent at just blowing things up. So we might see some of those.
I don't know if I'd consider China to be sort of known for their water play compared to, say, a civ like ports or even Japan. But I don't think that they're necessarily bad against that water, and they're definitely good at playing in H3, playing in H4, which water games often will go to.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good pick. And we'll see if he tries to do that water play or if he goes for the more traditional China style and just tries to kill Gib before he's able to set up his full water economy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose more so the point I was trying to get is that they can contest. They can at least ship those junks. They can try to interfere with port's plans on water, maybe try to get Portuguese to invest more in water than they wanted to or than they really need to. And I think that's sort of the key about playing against water is you don't necessarily have to win it. I think you just have to contest it enough and have a good follow-up on land that you don't just let your opponent get away with just having you know, all these extra resources for free. But Lucas is not greening up. He sort of unchecked that box. He might be contemplating which civ to pick. Nope. As I say that, greened up. We are going into game number 4 of this best of 5 series in the round of 32 between GiBthedurrty and Lucas _L99.
GiBthedurrty currently down 1-2 in this series, but he did win the most recent game. and so he is in position to make a reverse sweep possibly,
Yeah.
or at least to tie the score up with this. This is, I believe, the upper bracket of the round of 32. So whoever loses here is not out of the tournament. They do fall down to the lower bracket and still have a chance to make it over into the top 8.
That's correct.
Being in top 16 of the upper bracket feels pretty good, I would say.
For sure. And I'm looking at the brackets now. The winner of this would go on to face the winner of Lord Raphael versus Keister. That's Keister with a T, not Kaiser Klein. And I believe Lord Raphael is the heavy favorite in that matchup. So safe to say the winner of this will go on to play Lord Raphael in the upper bracket, and the loser, well, I have not looked at the lower bracket just yet. But let's focus on this game. So Gib playing Portuguese in the color green in the northeast of the map, and in the southwest is Lucas in the color yellow playing at China, and they've just always selected these two colors, which is very convenient for me as a caster. Some players I believe just depends on, differs, but both players are, sorry, just China is going to be going for this age 1 TP. It looks like Gib could. He's got an extra 100 wood on the floor that he's elected to not pick up. That's interesting.
I can see why he might want to do that. That is to say, might not want to make a trading post in age 1, just because when you start with this 200 food, in age 1 as Portuguese, this is on EP particularly, where I believe that they lose 1 wood crate but have slightly cheaper villagers. It can be a little tricky to go fully without idle time in age 1 if you make that trading post as well.
It is.
So
it's tricky, but it's not impossible. So I think maybe he wants to use this wood for stuff more on the sea. But I don't know how I feel about this. Anyhow, getting caught by this Chinese explorer who is trained his entire life to be a master in the hand martial arts, and Gib with his silly little pea shooter is no match, and will be going down if he can't break the snare and get back to his TC, which he's trying to do. But Lucas is blocking with his disciple, and yeah, this is a tough spot to be in.
It's from Lucas right now. He's getting a lot of damage down on this explorer. I think it will go down. He might be able to get the disciple as a compensation. We'll see about that. I don't think he's going to be able to break the snare very easily. It seems like it's unless Lucas severely mismicros his disciple, but
Yeah,
I don't think even that's going to be happening.
And the disciple is going to be pulled back and even put in cover mode here, showing off a little bit of that treaty style APM. He's got to pull it back. Oh, that's not going to be enough. It's got 1 HP. It's dead. So trying a little too hard there, Lucas, but still going to be picking off this explorer.
I think, yeah, it seems like coming to kill this explorer. It looked like there might have been a chance for the explorer to survive, or at least get into TC radius, and make it a little bit more expensive for Lucas to do this kill. But I think that Lucas will be just fine here. Getting the explorer and getting a trading post.
Yeah.
Good. And going to, I mean, they spent most of this early age 1 just going for this, so there's still plenty of treasures left in the map. So I think Lucas really coming out ahead at this beginning juncture of the game.
Yeah, I think so too. I want to talk about decks and shipments. So, yeah, Gib sent Schooners age 1, which you don't always see on EP because its effect got tweaked. Instead of having 40 wood boats, the default boat price got reduced to 70 wood, and then Schooners in effect got nerfed to only your boats now cost 50 wood. So they do train faster, so that's sort of the compensation. You don't typically see this card on EP though, just because it's just much more viable to go see without sending it. But he is sending it, and I mean, just looking at his deck, this is the kind of deck that I would probably just resign if I faced it in quick search. I mean, like advanced dock, team coastal defenses, it's just well, you know what Gib is going to do, and if you don't play against it correctly, it can be a real pain in the behind. And
if you do play against it correctly, it's going to be a pain in the behind. You know you're in first trouble when your opponent has 0 military shipments that aren't cannons or boats.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so we'll see what Lucas's response is to this. Looking at his deck, he's got some cards there himself. East Indiaman, which he did not send, but if he so chooses at some point in the game, it grants him a dock rickshaw and cheaper boats. And he's got 2 war junks in H2, as well as a warship upgrade card, and 1 Fuchuan. I don't know how to say that word. Mercenary boat in H3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interestingly, it does cost 200 coin, so I'm guessing it's like somewhere like a little bit better than a frigate, but not a lot. And so you charge 200 extra coin for it.
yeah, that's interesting. I'm kind of I want to see it just because I don't think I've really seen that in play. But Gib is just doing like typical. This is like a 3v3, RE build. Like get a villager on the island, like build a dock there as well. His TC is very close to his own TC, so he's not really relying on that to be any sort of anti-ship device. He hasn't even placed it near a pond, right? So this sort of indicates if he runs into pressure on the water, I think he's going to ship something like Advanced Dock, or maybe just rely on his 2 caravels, and the 2 TCs close to each other sort of eliminate much H2 pressure that China can do.
My thought with this is maybe he's not expecting to have any water pressure, at least at the beginning of the game, but he is expecting to get some pressure in base. And predicting that that's how Lucas is going to try to play this one out. We can see perhaps that's true so far. Lucas hasn't really made any effort to contest the water right now. He might ship those boats, but he's not going to be making a dock, it looks like, anytime soon. And as a result, boats against your opponent, and all they have are fishing boats. You can keep them off resources, but you're not going to be able to really take the water from that because you're not going to be able to shoot down the docks with the fishing boats garrisoned in them.
Right. And I can't remember off the top of my head if it takes 2 fire junks to kill a dock or just 1. Either way, I suppose it's a pretty all-in shipment for China to send if they aren't going to accomplish what they want to accomplish. So we see Lucas is just doing standard China stuff, right? Sending 700 coin. He's laid down an extra TP in transition, so it's going to help fuel his H3 shipment spam. Meanwhile, Gib is going full wall and then shipping rendering plant after 700 wood. So his eco is going to be good, but it's slow, right? He's not going to find himself in H3 anywhere near the time that China has, and this could this could cost him the game. We'll see how he decides to deal with the pressure.
Pick up for Lucas that he got was that he actually killed GiBthedurrty's Explorer for a second time. And there's a few good treasures left on the map. You can see Lucas right now is going for that 135 XP treasure.
Oh wow, yeah.
Which that can be meaningful in this game. He also got 2 disciples off those bears, turned both bears into converts to the cause.
Yeah,
so now
that's nice.
I think getting the 135 XP, probably going to go down to this 80 food treasure guarded by the 2 outlaws. Moving down some 90 coin, it seems, 90 food. Decent pickups, nothing that's going to change the game.
Yeah, but he's treasuring hard, which is nice to see. Being active on the map, doing what you can. You can get those uncontested, might as well. I just want to. This is really nice boom from Gib. Like these dock placements are just brilliant. He never built a dock. The dock by your side in the corner is like not that great because you eat up the 2 fish right away, and then the walking time, the sailing time to get to all these resources is just huge. So he's got these 2 nice centered 2 docks, and it's just it's solid play.
It's kind of like your emergency dock, where if you think that you're going to lose the water, you want a dock there so that you can always have somewhere to run your boats to. But
yeah,
if you're confident in your water play, you can get away with not building a dock there, building your dock pretty aggressively, and taking over the water more like this.
Yeah, and I don't like this. Gib sending 700 coin when he has 900 banked. Imagine if that was just like 2 caravels to just shut down water pressure or something of the like, or even just save it for H3. He's aging right now. But can't take a shipment back, so it's sent. And 1K coin coming out of Lucas. I think we're going to see similar H4 play from him. He's banking the food. He's not making units. He's just going to siege down this wall.
Less of an H4 deck than last time out of Lucas. Looks like he has still, I guess, the big H4 cards, Arquebusiers, Zhangdao, Flying Crows, Meteor Hammers. But he traded off a lot of the other ones for the water cards. And we'll see. We'll see if that works out for him. He hasn't really made any effort to contest water yet.
Yeah,
So
but
maybe he's going to go to waste, but we'll see.
yeah, and I mean, right now, I would say Gibbs' boom is kind of paying off. Like at 60 to 61 mils to 36. Once these fish are all fished up, yeah, if he loses water, he loses that sort of infinite source of coin. But he's gained a good amount of resources here. And however, the coin is an important thing to keep in mind on this map. It's not a high coin map. You just have these 2,000 silver mines, and there aren't a whole lot of them on the map. Typically, we see play kind of fight over these two mines in the corner of the map, but Gib laying down a fresh layer of walls here to just, I don't know, what I would maybe just call Minutemen against these playing pikes. It's kind of annoying. Might even save yourself the resources of these walls, but nonetheless, just gonna keep walling. And yeah, I mean, his boom is great. I think he's gonna go to Age 4 soon. And
Indeed, he has chosen to go for the Bastion upgrade on the walls. So he's committed to
he's
making
researching that. Oh
yeah.
man, that I like this. That's gonna buy himself an insane amount of time. And these are nice walls, right? He's deleted the pillars.
They're very nice walls. I'm a huge fan of them.
I haven't seen any holes yet. Yeah, the skills are paying off in Japan. Although, you know, more pressure from the start. And one thing about this Bastion upgrade, so I'm gonna talk about EP walls real quick. The default wall HP, right, these wooden walls was halved from 3,000 to 1,500. However, this Bastion upgrade restores them to their full. Now they have 7,500 HP, right? Very strong. The same hit points as RE Bastion walls. However, if I'm not mistaken, the research time on that upgrade was lengthened. Just because walls are typically strong in AoE3. But he's researched it and like, wow. These are beefy boys.
I mean, it's a 5x upgrade to your walls, basically, once you get that Bastion upgrade. It means that, I mean, imagine if you're playing a normal game and then you see 5 layers of walls, of wooden walls, against your opponent. You're just like leaving and you're gonna go boom at home because you're like, I don't want to deal with this now. Imagine now 2 layers of walls. That's what GiBthedurrty has right now. It's frustrating to deal with.
It is frustrating. However, there's nothing to, you know, put pressure against these China units. Gib is clicking up to Age 4. We'll see what he ages up with, whether it's, you know, the 1K coin or 2 organ guns would actually be pretty decent here. He has built an artillery foundry himself, so, I mean, I think that you just have to build artillery up against China. You know, you might see the 2 flying crows. Excuse me. The Ratton's coming out here for the China player.
I wasn't really sure what they were up to. I was seeing them walk around.
I think he wants to hide them. I don't know why they're hiding way over there, but I don't think he wants to reveal them against these walls right now. As I say that, they're going into the walls. I think maybe he just had the rally over there. 2 flying crows coming down now, and 2 culverins here from GiBthedurrty. So that's going to be nice to repel these crows, but I mean, how do you deal with this rad mass? Like, he doesn't have enough walls. 2K coin coming out now, and like some dragoons, but does he have a shipment to send? Did he send it? I didn't see. Oh, this is going to be tough to hold.
Maybe the walls for GiBthedurrty, he seems to have like a little bit of a gap in what he planned to have. He had to put these walls up between his town center and his house, but the main town center going through, they're going to siege down this town center. Hopefully GiBthedurrty, for him, he won't have his culverins caught out as well. Looks like Lucas isn't pushing further into that base. He thinks, oh wait.
Oh.
These are the culverins.
The culverins will survive, but I mean, you have these like 20 villagers on this gold mine, and this is going to be really tough to hold. He can't gather this coin. 2 heavy cannons now being shipped to a safe town center, which is nice. Can he build a wall and infuse this? 4 crows now coming out for China. Back-to-back crow ship. No, excuse me, sorry. Just from the wonder that they've been spawning. And dragoons coming out for GiBthedurrty. Going to be trying to deal with these rats as much as he can. He's got to get his artillery in place to deal with these crows. Looks like he's trying to maneuver everything micro. if he can hold, I think he's all right. He still has all this uncontested C, but 18 swords coming out for China, and we're just going to see unit shipment spam from them from here on out.
The cannons, I think, are going to be okay. They were right in front of a wall, now able to pull back behind it. Not a lot of these rat and shields though going down for Lucas. He actually has the majority of them still left over. Dragoons didn't do that much damage to them, and now 4 crows took down one of the town centers. One of the other town centers was down before it could go up. So the third town center is about to go down as well off the huge siege potential of these crows. And then after that, you only got 1 left. I guess you have like 3 other docks, and so you can still make villagers, but well.
Yeah, Gibbs really got to get these culverins in play. You know, I think maybe we'd see a gate here would be nice, or, you know, he's just got to. There's too much siege here. He's got to deal with it somehow. And I mean, this 1K coin is left on the floor, most of it, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Lucas send a vill or 2 up here. And I mean, 17 arquebusiers coming out. Like, this is so many units. Oh no, and the culverins and the heavy cannons being caught out of position.
Yeah.
Trying to use the villagers to maybe melee down. Nope, just misrallied. Both culverins dead. The 2 heavy cannons will survive, I think. They got a lot of hit points.
One is about to go down, but the other's okay.
One goes down.
Actually, yeah, back off too. There's still a little bit of range out of these ratens.
Oh gosh, I mean,
okay.
He has no infrastructure. Everything's down. He's trying to rebuild as frantically as he can. But I mean, what does he send now? He has no unit shipments in Age 4, right? This is such a team deck. Like, there's not, you know, like 8 dragoons or whatever else Portuguese get.
Sort of seeing, I would say, the reverse of last game, where both players go for an economic style, but then one player tries to play a little bit more greedy. Last time it was Lucas. He tried to go for a fast industrial against British, who was able to get a mid-game timing with their VC boom. This game we have Lucas. He gets his fast industrial off. GiBthedurrty says, "I'm going to play even slower than you. I'm going to go for a full Portuguese water boom with walls and everything." But then you have the risk where your opponent just comes in and kills you with all their stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just a little too slow. And the sea is kind of out of all the fish. If we look at units lost, Gib has deleted 17 fishing boats just because they would be idle otherwise. He has shipped his 2nd factory. Where's his 1st factory?
Both of them are on the island.
Oh, they're on the island, so that's nice.
It does make a difference.
It does make a difference.
He was down in villagers for a while there, but now he's back up to that economic lead.
Yeah.
He was losing a few, and also, of course, the fish have run out.
Yeah, but so what's not counted in this economic graph is China did research for TP Stagecoach. That's about, you know, 12 to 16 bills, and he's gathering up this coin. So like, China's sitting pretty, and it's not like Gib has his stuff on the coast where it's easily defensible. He's being forced in this top part of the map. Lucas is walling it off now, and he's got about 20 villagers on this wood that's completely unsafe. Gibbs trying to buy some time with these dragoons just running around, but there's just not much to do, and he calls it right there. So I didn't have the score updated. I apologize, guys, but that's the series. Lucas wins 3-1 versus GiBthedurrty. I don't know what to say about that one. I feel like Gib was in a really good spot until China had just crap ton more stuff.
I think Lucas just knew what the timing was for this one. He knows that you can't beat the Portuguese, perhaps in a long game, if you don't go for this water contesting. But where long here means very, very long. Timing window available to you, especially if the walls aren't quite where they need to be. As a result, he was able to take down a lot of different town centers. He was able to find good picks off on some villagers, on some culverins. GiBthedurrty, he had, he had everything he needed to make a defense, but quite have enough units available to him at the time. And I think he didn't even what was it, like Lucas hit right as GiBthedurrty hit Age 4? Was that?
Yeah, that's about right. So like Lucas was Age 4 for a couple more minutes before Gib was, and I want to look at the shipments total. We see those early 2 trading posts really paying off for Lucas, and I think he did a nice job of saving some shipments for H4. And I mean, we pretty much just see unit shipment after unit shipment, and it's just too overwhelming for the Portuguese player to deal with, having no unit shipments of his own in his deck.
Yeah, I do think that the deck that GiBthedurrty went for, I love it because it's so greedy, but you can see how it can just a couple more unit shipments to bridge that gap maybe would work. I guess, like let's say he adds I don't know, like 10 Dragoons up in here. I don't even know if that's a shipment available to you in H4. I don't think 10 Dragoons is, but like even if you have that, I feel like maybe it wouldn't have been enough. You can see how many units Lucas has at this point.
Yeah, something like that. Or I don't know. I wonder. I mean, I feel like 700 coin was a bit of a mistake to send. If he had that extra shipment, like maybe a frigate in the pond would have helped quell some of this pressure. I'm trying to think what their range is against H4 crows. 28 range for the crows. I think frigates have this 26 maybe. So maybe that would have been tough. But I don't know. I think you just need something a little more here to deal with land. But I think very well played by Lucas. I like this build. I like the decision to transfer into Stagecoach after you've reached H4, so that you can start that immediate pressure. Turned out to be very effective.
I wonder, if GiBthedurrty had set up his town centers a little bit differently, if he had kind of made his retreat path more towards the water rather than away from the water, if that would have had an effect. I mean, there's not a lot of room to retreat towards the water from your main base, but what we saw here was that the water from GiBthedurrty, his land units were split off. You couldn't use them to protect each other. You couldn't ship boats and have them firing.
Right.
On the army. And I wonder if there are different building placements he could have gone there. Maybe he could have made even more layers of walls to delay the time there.
Yeah, potentially. But still a good series. I think entertaining. Was joy to cast. Thanks for casting with me, Duck, and Wallow Comment K just messaged me. Raphael and Keister are waiting.